round for the band.
For the last 5 years, Bernard O'Mahony has had a rather unusual mission. He's been writing letters to some of the most infamous and notorious murderers of recent times. But these were not normal letters. What O'Mahony was trying to do was to strike up a friendship with these criminals in the hope that they would trust him enough to confess to things that they had denied in court. And in several cases his plan worked, and the letters were eventually used as evidence against them in court. Bernard, welcome to the programme. This idea of corresponding with these people, how did it begin? How did it strike you?
Well, some people protest about the ozone layer or, you know, Greenpeace and things like that. I don't like people who murder children. So a lot of people go through the court process and through technicalities get away with heinous crimes. And so I don't just write to anybody. It is mainly just paedophiles who murder children, and I've been quite successful at it. I've got to a man who abducted, raped and murdered a 7-year-old boy to confess, and a man who raped and murdered a 3-year-old girl to confess, and various other things.
I'll go into those individual cases. The first one, well, you met one of the Crays, first of all.
Well, I was trying to raise money for a paralysed boy.
Yeah.
And the Crays are sort of well known for, you know, that type of thing, or were. And they got in contact with me and said they'd help me. So through that boy, you know, I did get to know them, you know.
Right, but the big name that you first contacted was Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper.
Yeah, well, he'd murdered 13 women.
13 women, yeah.
And ruined the lives of another 7. So, you know, the papers in England have said that Sutcliffe's my victim, and it was a bad thing for me to do, to turn him over. But I'm quite proud of the fact, you know, he's a...
So how did you make contact? You wrote him a letter?
Well, the police sort of go into all these long, drawn-out investigations to try and find out the truth, and journalists, you know, interview neighbours and all the rest of it. And I thought, well, if you want to find something out about someone, surely the best person to ask is that person. So, you know, just take the direct route and ask them direct. And,
but you didn't use your own name?
Well, you can't, because if you have a man who's attracted to females, then you have to pretend to be a female, because otherwise, you know, the Yorkshire Ripper's not going to write back to a hairy, like builder, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
He's only interested in women. So, you know, you have to invent this character to suit the target, really.
And did you get anything out of him that wasn't already in the public domain?
I mean, they're not all successes, not really with the Ripper, you know what I mean, but I corresponded with him for a long, long time. And he wasn't particularly successful, but you know, for every success I've had, there's 10 failures. Do you know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about Richard Blenkie. Remind us who Richard Blenkie was.
Richard Blenkie was a man, and I use that term loosely, who took a 7-year-old boy into a hen shed, sodomised him, strangled him, and then threw his naked body down a ravine, and denied all knowledge of it. And the police didn't have that much of a case against him. So I corresponded with him for over a year. I visited him in prison.
This was before his court case?
Before, yeah. And he told me the story of the murder through a third party. He said that he knew who'd committed the murder, but he was frightened to tell the police because this person would harm a member of his family. And he was sort of drawing me a map saying, this is where the boy's clothes are buried, you know, this is where this is, this. And then a week before the court case, I said, look, you've been talking rubbish to me. You know, you committed the murder, don't put these people through a trial. And he wrote me a letter and said, yep, you know, I killed the boy, blah-de-blah-de-blah. So I gave the letter to the police, hands up, guilty, life sentence, you know.
And what he told you was used in evidence against him in court?
He was shot, yeah, he was done.
Why did they trust you? Why did he trust you?
Well, these type of people have got, you know, I won't mention specific cases, what, you know, going on at the moment, but when these people are accused of these crimes, the media, the whole world seems to be against them. You know, even other prisoners want to damage them and everything else. And so, you know, in all this darkness, suddenly a ray of light comes through their cell door, a letter from someone who they think is a friend. And so they cling to that, you know.
Are you on a mission?
No,
Because
not
your
really,
background, you're not your own background's not.
Oh, I'm
really
no
good.
angel, no.
No, you're no angel.
Some
at
would
all.
say hell's angel, but
You've done.
I'm certainly no angel, no.
You've done
no.
time. You've done drugs racketeering. You've been in for assault. You've been in
Yeah.
for robberies.
Well, my three friends were all shot through the head. They were all murdered in a crime which was made into a film, Essex Boys, and it's not nice seeing that type of thing in your life. And as you get older, I think you get wiser. Do you know what I mean? You know, being a gangster and being a criminal is not what it's cut out to be, really. And you change. You know what I mean? You do change. But I've always had I think every decent human being has got a thing about people who harm children. Do you know what I mean? It's just that, you know, I feel so strongly about it, and because I've been through the court system myself, I know how easy it is with clever lawyers to evade justice, and so you know, I feel really strongly about it. And
Is it a mission? Is it something that a crusade that you're on?
It's just, I mean, one of the fellas whose children were murdered said the greatest thing of it all was to see that man stand in the box and say, yes, I did it, I'm guilty. Because then there's no newspaper investigation afterwards saying, you know, did they get the wrong man? There's no appeal. There's no nothing. It's just, you've got him, and he's, you know, he's finished.
Do you make money out of this?
No, not at all, no. I mean, I'm writing a book about it at the moment, and I've donated every single penny of it to Bernardo's, because I think there's something... I mean, I love money as much as anyone. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a saint, do you know what I mean? But I think there's something a little bit distasteful about it. I mean, I've wrote books about my own criminality. Yes. And I've took money from that, so hands up guilty.
But on this one...
But on this one, I've donated it all to Bernardo's, to Dr. Bernardo's.
So this book is due out, and we're going to see these letters, the correspondence...
Well, it's just these people, in their own words, these people who go out and kill children in their own words. And I'm a stereotypical sort of tabloid reader, and people think, you know, he's a thug and I think they should all be hung up and strung and, you know. But since writing to him, my views have changed ever such a lot, and, you know, they're a bit controversial. And
do you feel any sympathy towards these people once you get to know them?
Not sympathy, but every single one of them have been abused themselves, and everyone feels sorry for abused children. So you have to think, at what stage does that abused child become the monster? Do you see what I mean? And if you look at a child and get you know, sexual thoughts, in my mind, you're not a criminal. I think that there's something wrong with you mentally. And so I think these people should be sectioned rather than locked up in prison, because if you're sectioned under the Mental Health Act, one, you can't be released until you're cured, and two, you know, if you're in prison, you can't take an aspirin unless you agree to it. But if you're sectioned, you know, you can be given treatment for your problem, which could mean castration, it could mean anything, and you've got no say in it. Yeah, so I think it's a better way to deal with it.
A very today debate, that is. Well, Bernard, the book's coming out. When do you hope the book to be out?
Early next year, sort of February, March.
We look forward to it. Thanks for coming and talking
Thank you very much.
Bernard O'Mahony, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you. Okay. Tomorrow night, the Starmont Hotel in Belfast is a venue for an evening of music and entertainment to